You're not just listening, you're part of the conversation. Only on Money FM 89.3. The Hot Seat.
Welcome to the Hot Seat. I'm your host, Hongbin Jeong. And happy International Women's Day to every single woman out there. In order to celebrate how far us women have come over the years, we're asking a big question today on the Hot Seat, and that's what makes a successful woman? Success means different things to different people. Is it about climbing the career ladder, building a strong community, or finding balance and happiness on your own terms? The truth is, there is no one-size-fits-all answer. And that's exactly why we're having this conversation today. Now, before we hear from our guests, here's a disclaimer. The views and arguments presented by our interviewees do not necessarily reflect their personal beliefs or opinions. Instead, they are here to provide a fresh perspective on the topic at hand. On that note, if you'd like to send some questions in for our guests or tell us what you think makes a successful woman, feel free to text us at 88550893. That's 88550893. Or leave a comment on our YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, as we're currently streaming live on there as well. Make sure to follow us on those platforms at Money FM 893 and make sure to give us a like there as well. So joining me today are these wonderful and successful women, starting with Anna Ong, who's a founder of What's Your Story Slam, followed by Andrea Yu, who is the founder of Choke, Clinch, Crank, Combat, and finally, we have Rae Saleha, who is a local artist and actress who was also recently awarded the Most Promising Actress Award for Singapore Malay Television and the Best Actress Award at the New Zealand Web Fest. Ladies, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you for having us.
All
Pleasure to
right.
be here.
Pleasure to have you on as well on Rae, because you're joining us online as well. Well, let's start today's conversation with a simple question. What makes a successful woman? Anna, maybe we can go with you.
Okay, so I think success isn't just about titles or wealth, but it's also about owning your story, being seen and making an impact. So it's about a woman being more visible because you can't be what you can't see.
I see. Well, Andrea?
I think to take a page out of Shin Tan, one of Singapore's pioneers, MMA, women as well. She talks about how don't let anybody define you, find your truth and own it. I think that really captures what I think is a successful woman. It's not a destination, but I think it's what makes you feel badass at the end of the day.
Wow. And Rae, what makes a successful woman?
I feel different people are very different in their own ways. We experience different things in our lives, different factors as well. So the definition of a successful woman really lies upon each individual woman on their own as well, because it's very hard to generalize things. Yeah, so I see it more on an individual journeys and their destinations. Yeah.
I think all of you have put it so beautifully on what makes a successful woman. Now, as a woman, we take on different roles, such as, being a mother, a wife, a partner, or a sister and a colleague, even when we're at work. All of us, here have our own individual experiences in setting our own boundaries and balancing our lives. So on that note, Anna, how hard is it for women to communicate their intentions, to set boundaries between work and personal life, and what are the challenges that come with it?
I would say often women struggle with setting boundaries because we're often taught at a young age to people please, right? We hate disappointing people, and as women, we tend to wear multiple hats. Sometimes we're the breadwinner, we're also the caregiver. We're the mother, we're my friend, the mentor. So we keep giving that we forget that a part of self-care is creating boundaries. And for women, in order to navigate that, it's about being clear as to what your non-negotiables are. It's also being able to explain why you can't. Not just say I can, but share your story and your perspective. Like invite people to see what it's like in your shoes so that they understand why you can't do what you're saying. And also, I guess, people need to also see what you're doing, because often I think women like to do things in the background.
Right.
And we're not showing people, like, like people go, oh, they only see one aspect. They don't see all the balls that we're trying to juggle.
Right.
And if you are more vocal about it, I think people would be able to be much more understanding when you're more clear about your boundaries.
I see. I see. And Andrea, I know that you've written a book where you interviewed martial artists here in Singapore. So, based on your previous conversations with female martial artists, why is it that Singaporean society expects too much from women, yet they're not supportive of women who pursue a career out of the norm? Say, for example, to become a martial artist.
Yeah, I think really to echo what Anna was also sharing, I think Singapore expects kind of a conundrum, like at the same time too much, but also too little of women. We expect women to wear many hats and to wear them well, to be a good mother, to be a good friend, to be a good partner, a career woman, often all at the same time. But I think we also have a very set idea of what women can and should succeed at as well. And martial arts isn't one of them. When you think of martial arts, people don't think of women as well. I think one of the women we interviewed in the book, also Amanda Chan, she is a winner of multiple regional titles, and she talks about how sometimes it gets to her a little bit also. When her mother would ask her, okay, you've got all these titles, that's nice, but when are you getting married? When are you going to have children? And it seems like no matter how successful you are as well, it always comes back to those questions as well. So that's what the book is ultimately trying to do as well. We are trying to challenge. When we think about combat sport, we want people to think about women as well. We want people to think about the diverse roles that women occupy in society.
Right, right. And Rae, over to you as well. As an actress, I'm sure you're very busy filming and shooting your projects. So how do you ensure that your partners, family, or support systems achieve balance, and is it really hard?
It is extremely hard because when you're an actress and you're freelancing while juggling a full-time job at the same time, I'm currently a wife now. So to handle household chores, it's just simple things. It's very draining and tiring. Like what Anna Ong said, like you have to communicate, you have to express, you have to tell and show what you're doing, because most of the things we do it like what Anna said, behind the scenes. We don't like to portray it. We don't like to show it. We are the kind of individuals that does things out of service because it's not only as our obligations or our duties. So to find that balance with life and work at the same time is really hard, to such an extent whereby my mom would call me and say like, hey, I haven't seen you for months. Like, can you even like drop a call? But it gets so busy. And to get the boundaries and self-care whereby you have time and hit space for yourself to just sit in with your emotions, to sit in with how your body is feeling is really, really hard. So I'm very happy. For me, I have a very good support system, like my family, a small circle of friends that I can count on. And instead of meeting up with a lot of people, even though the industry is all about networking, I rather have deep, intentional conversations with the people that I care and feel safe with. And I know that these people will respect my boundaries and I will respect their boundaries as well. So it's a mutual understanding and effort to make things work, to find that balance. Yeah.
I see. I mean, most of the world has reached equality in education, by bridging the gender gap in accessing and shaping science and technology. The goal to provide more opportunities for women can be reached now. Now, contextualizing it back to Singapore here, Andrea, as a teacher yourself, is education a crucial factor when ensuring that opportunities aren't just limited to privileged women, but accessible to any woman from a young age?
Yes, 100%. I truly believe in education as the great equalizer as well. I think, not just in terms of providing the skills and the content for women to access those opportunities. We now see a lot more women in STEM as well, and we have education and accessible education to thank for that. But I think it's also about schools as spaces for young girls to also explore interests as well. For many young women, school is also the first space where people teach you how to lift weights in PE class, right? You get to talk about issues that maybe you don't talk about at home. And I think that's also the other important factor. Are we talking about issues in class that we hope will carry on beyond the classroom as well? Just earlier this week, I was having a conversation with my class about stereotypes that young people face, that young women face, that young men face as well. So I think it's important that we have these conversations in the classroom. And, lastly, education at the end of the day should be also about providing good role models. I'm very open with my students that I'm an educator, I'm their teacher, but I'm also an author, I'm also an athlete. I hope that young people also have access to good role models through education as well.
I see. I see. Well, most women wish and yearn to work together and be supportive of one another whenever, one of us does make a breakthrough. Yet female rivalry is indeed still deeply rooted in many workplaces. Rae, now in the media industry itself, there's a lot of competition for roles and opportunities as well. And even some are considered, so-called divas, which makes it harder for women to be on the same page at times. So doesn't this behavior cause more harm than good for women equality?
Competition, you can't avoid it. And yes, it does do more harm than good. But I feel that divas, they're not actually difficult personalities, but they're more strong personalities that tends to be misunderstood. Because I believe everyone has a reason to why they are behaving or acting in such a way. And there are cases where toxic competition does create division rather than unity. And for me, I believe that for us women to progress in this industry, collaboration should be prioritized over tearing each other down. And unfortunately, the pressure to stand out often leads to people being more individualism rather than a collective growth. And this is something I feel that a mindset shift is needed in Singapore, where there's room for multiple women to succeed together and lifting each other up. And it benefits everyone in the long run instead of a short term to stand out and step over each other. Yeah.
And Anna, it looks like you left your previous work environment in banking because you found out that it was dominated by men, and the fact that communication is the key to climbing up the ranks. If that's the case, then would the lack of communication be a reason as to why competition still exists amongst women?
Well, I would say yes. It's not just lack of communication, right? Because women are also taught that we have to fight for the limited seats that are allocated for women at the table so it's a scarcity mindset instead of growing the table. So I think that's one of the reasons. But also, women have a visibility problem. Often, women don't talk about what they do at work or even share with their boss what they do until they're sure that it's successful. They also don't speak up in meetings. Most of the time, women tend to self-censor themselves. They'd run an idea in their head 6 times before they say it, while the male colleagues will just go ahead and don't even wait to raise their hand and just say it.
Right.
So women have a visibility problem, and I think that's something we still need to address, because if you're not because your boss is often too busy, right? He won't have time, or she won't have time to check in as to how you're doing. So if you're not going to update them or tell them, how would they know that you're doing well? And women tend to go my work should speak for itself, but it does not. I wish it could. Then there would be so much more successful women. Unfortunately, it's always someone with half your talent, but who can say it and voice it out, that gets that promotion, that gets the visibility, and gets that seat at the table.
Right. Well, speaking of getting that seat at the table, this year is especially crucial as there is a major change that is sweeping workplace cultures, with DEI starting to lose its importance. As such, becoming a successful woman may prove to be more difficult in the coming years. Rae, as a local female artist, you have the capability to use your platforms to make a change or raise awareness on such issues. But why does it seem like Singaporeans with influence and positions of power lack in efforts to uplift women from all backgrounds?
I feel when it comes to the media the netizens can be quite brutal, merciless, cutthroat, and the fear stems from the backlash, hence the resistance. And I think Singapore is quite conservative and reserved. So for somebody who has that platform to do that, they tend to do things more in quiet ways, more meaningful ways that is more purposeful to them instead of just showing it out because once again, it will be met with resistance. But I feel that change can still happen in different ways, in simple things such as highlighting inspiring women, encouraging one another on set, doing charities and volunteer work in your own time and space, and all these small daily actions that is not seen but can make a change. Yeah.
I see. Well, some women are privileged to have had a mentor to guide them, which has made it easier for them to follow in their footsteps. Anna, you have seen many women take on mentorship roles, and you have even taught them how to build up their confidence. Still, wouldn't you say some women are still afraid to embrace their own stories, making it tougher for potential mentors to, reach out?
Yeah, I think there is still that problem because they're worried about being judged. I think most of the time we always want to be liked, and whether we are owning our story or sharing our stories, we worry that people start judging us. But I tell people, like, honestly, everyone will judge you. But those people who judge you are not your people anyway. And also with women, we always have this thing, we want to be perfect. And by sharing our flaws or owning our stories and sharing our flaws, women also worry about but then people won't like me if I'm not perfect. But then nobody's perfect. So women need to understand that our stories are power. It's our vulnerability, our imperfections that makes us unique, make us interesting, and makes us interesting and makes us more powerful. And that's also makes people want to reach out, connect with us, and help us.
Definitely.
And I think women need to know that.
Yeah.
And even mentors need to share their imperfections so that their mentees can also relate with them. So it's a two-step process.
Yeah, no one is perfect. Whether you're a male or a female, there's no one who's perfect. Everyone has their flaws. So, Andrea, as an educator, when should, girls or women start empowering themselves? Is there even a right time to start educating themselves on the topic?
So I think it's also a worthwhile question to ask ourselves, what does it mean to empower ourselves as well? So I also don't think that the onus should be on individual women. I think also as a society, we have to collectively ask ourselves that question. But I think for individual women, I think it's also about taking control of your life and taking control of your narrative, as Anna has also shared. And for different people, that can look like very different things as well. So, for example, for some of the female athletes we interviewed, taking a step into a combat gym, a martial arts gym, was the first step in, stepping out of a very dark period of their lives. For someone else, empowerment also means choosing a path that is less taken, and choosing to embrace the daily sacrifice that takes as well.
I see. Well, after discussing the different aspects of being a woman in Singapore, I think we all have gained a deeper understanding of what it really means to be one and what success means. Now, according to the UN Women Asia Pacific, the theme for International Women's Day 2025 is the year to act for all women and girls. So with this theme, the year to act for all women and girls, could you all perhaps share with me what this means to you and what you'll be doing this year to, act for all women and girls? Anna, maybe we can go with you first.
So I would advise them, visibility is not vanity. It's a leadership strategy. I would help women learn how to take space, share their story, and own their success.
Andrea?
I think what it means to me is that, all women are included, no one is left out. And for me, it's really important to be educating the next generation on equality. And it's also really important to me to challenge the representations of women that are in society. And I hope the book Clinch, Combat also does that, to challenge the views that we have about women and to also represent that women can be martial artists. We can be in the ring. We can also be a good wife, good mother. We can be all of those things all at once.
I see. And Ray, what does this theme mean to you?
It would mean that, like, one of the things I would advise all women and girls out there is that mindfulness is power. Mindfulness is key to be aware of your surroundings and the things that you have in your control to change for the better or to bring out the best versions in you. So that is something that I've been doing this year, to taking care of myself more, sitting in with my emotions more, be it mentally, physically, emotionally, and yeah, mindfulness. Just keep on practicing mindfulness. You will see how much your world and your relationships around you will change. Yeah.
I see. I see. And finally, before we end off our conversation here, of course, International Women's Day is a day that we celebrate all women. And today on the Hot Seat, we're celebrating you guys. But if there was one woman that you'd like to celebrate International Women's Day with, who would it be? Anna?
My mom.
Why?
Well, I think I've learned through the years to appreciate her for being, I think, one of the most financially savvy women, and also probably one of the most successful women I know, because she was able to retire and live off from passive income from the age of 40 and managed to still put 4 kids through school.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I know.
And Andrea?
Would also be my mom. I'm actually going home to celebrate International Women's Day with her right after this. My mom is like me. She's 5 feet tall. She's a very small woman, but people call her a hurricane.
Why?
She's very feisty. She knows how to fight for what she wants, and she taught me that. She taught me to be brave, to be confident, to speak up, and to fight for what you want.
And finally, Ray?
I think it's hard to say. If I were to choose, it has to be my mom. And I think that's also because every girl's role model, the first person is definitely their mother. And even though some mothers, I don't want to compare. Every mom is different in their own ways. They have the pros, they have the cons, they have the beauty. And every mom to a daughter is special. And my mom had taught me so much grace, so much empathy, so much mindfulness. And everyone is flawed, and it's okay. Just hold on to the things that make them glow, to make them light, and to support one another, to encourage the growth and to shine brighter. So that is something that I learned from my mom, and something that I made into my lifestyle and me as an individual. So yes, celebrate moms. It's a full-time job. I don't know how they do it. I myself am not a mom yet, but it's good job, moms.
Yes, good job, moms. Well, thank you so much all for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for having us.
We've been speaking to Anna Ong, who is the creator of What's Your Story Slam and INSEAD MBA alumni and part of the school's Limitless 2025 campaign, followed by Andrea Yu, who is the founder of Choke, Clinch, Crank, Combat, as well as Rae Saleha, who is a local artist and actress. Thank you to all those who've tuned in live on air as well as live on our social media platforms. Tune in again next week for another Hot Seat. But in the meantime, happy International Women's Day. I've been your host, Hongbin Jeong.
This is Money FM 89.3, Singapore's first and only business and personal finance station. News from the Straits Times.